welcome back to the 2 a.m. podcast. Today, we have a man. This man is a dear friend and one of the funniest guys I know, a real genuine rarity with over 260,000 views on YouTube. It's known for videos like, what happens when you eat gold and how powerful is the human brain? Please welcome Bakri. Thank you, sir.
Welcome to the podcast, brother.
It's good to be on, guys.
It's fun.
So tell the audience real quick, what made you want to do social media, or what is your social media journey?
Yeah.
How was that like?
So I'm sitting in med school.
Yeah. Wonderful place to be.
Yeah, sitting in the back, sometimes bored out of my mind. I don't do good in lectures. I guess that's the new thing.
Oh, dude, I would never guess that. But
No, I like to just learn my own. But then I started just figuring out these little nuggets, these side quests. Like, hey, this guy figured out this drug or this thing, and I'd make a video about it. Whether the guy who ate silver and turned blue, or the person who would eat sugar and then they would get hypoglycemic or whatever it was, and make these little videos.
yeah.
And then they turn into like these little truncated shorts over time because the attention span of the people
Yeah.
shifts towards the short version of stuff. And here we are.
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt like, well, first of all, let me just tell the audience real quick. I've known this man forever.
Which I actually just found out.
Yeah. So the crazy story is we've never actually personally been like, hey, let's kick it, but we've always been around at the same family functions.
Yes.
Yeah. And that, just weddings and funerals, unfortunately. And
Sunday school.
Sunday school. Yeah. We both learned, Arabic school together, and it was awesome. Good times. And then suddenly I just didn't see him for another 19 years until today.
Funny how it works, man.
Yeah, dude.
So
It's
funny.
like this guy has a following too. And it was just like, wow, we were at the same time, I think it was fate. Like we just happened to be talking about the same things.
Right.
We kind of shifted him into spring water. He has 2 bottles.
Sold.
Dude, even before that, you introduced me to him. I think he showed me your Instagram account.
Oh, yeah.
And then I found you on Twitter, or you found me on Twitter, however it worked. And then we've been going back and forth.
I know, daily.
Yeah, daily, literally. So it's amazing. I love it.
Dude, it's like we're all like-minded, and it's awesome that we're back here, and even better, we're on this podcast for you guys to enjoy. I've always felt like he was different. Like the things you talk about are just so, you expand on them so much that I'm like, okay, this guy's not average. He obviously clearly likes to learn on your own, which is a great thing. And I think that's what makes you successful and excel in your field.
Thank you.
And your energy, bro, is unparalleled.
Oh, yeah?
It's like the first video I saw of you, I could tell immediately, like, yeah, this guy's different.
Yeah.
100%.
For me, it was the humor, obviously.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah,
like, we can relate, Anyway, there was an incident yesterday that I came across, and I immediately remembered you because this is something that I went through in Spain. And if you know anything about Spain, statistically, 9 out of 10 people can get a UTI usually because of just the amount of public bacteria that's available, right?
Sure.
But people don't use public restrooms there on purpose,
Really?
And if they do, it's pretty bad. So the only time I saw this was yesterday. I try to avoid public restrooms for the most part, but I was at Costco and went to the bathroom, finished. As I finished, put some soap, and I was washing my hands. By then, I kid you not, 6 people had walked out, just in and out, bro. Just in and out, nothing. Some people, kind of just like dappled and just put a little bit of water and then just walked out. And I'm like, in my right mind, I don't think water just is enough.
That's filthy.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's insane to me because I know I've come across people before where it's just like they try to argue the opposite, where it's just like all you need is water, and in fact we actually wash our hands a little too much.
And you think with the pandemic that people would be, more hygienical and they did take care of themselves a little bit. But unfortunately, it seems that everyone's reverted.
What's going on? It seems to me that something is messed up there, and there's a series of cases and diseases that can come out of this that we don't actually think about, that are airborne, that are just sitting there either through air drying or splashing.
You guys want to get disgusted?
Please.
Yes, please. Oh my God.
So the majority of these pathogens that we're taking in, they're spread fecal oral.
Okay.
And it's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh,
if you get some kind of gut bug, you're having diarrhea, vomiting, whatever it is, you consume somebody's poop particles.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I have
And
always,
that's why I have this.
bro, I have always been a big proponent of closing the toilet lid when I flush,
100%.
and I've never wanted to do any of those air dryer, blow dryer things.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, why?
Did you see the video blowing up on TikTok where there's a researcher, he gets, the Petri dish
Yeah.
and moves around the bathroom, puts it underneath the blow dryer, and then cultures it for a few days.
Oh my
And the
god!
stuff that grows is filthy.
Like what kinds of
Like
things?
these pathogenic E. coli strains that are definitely poop from the poop.
Oh,
Dude.
We have the microbiome,
yeah.
we have a bunch of bacteria inside of us.
It's the
And-
things you don't think about. Oh man. I tell my dad this all the time. I'm the type of person where I think about who touched the fridge door.
Yeah.
Because if I know I'm living with someone that could be potentially unhygienic, it affects me. And why do I think like that? I think the pandemic did that.
Yep. I mean,
Absolutely.
it overdid it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was happy not to shake hands with some people, knowing that they walk out of the bathroom without
Stay away.
Totally feel that.
the lack of bidet use and
Yeah.
and such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking, but I don't know, man. It's just, it boggles my mind to see that you're fine to walk around that kind of dirty. But knowing that, that's pretty disturbing.
I think the dirtiest part of your body is actually your forearm. Like they've cultured like your hands and stuff, your forearms. No one washes their forearms, and they're always rubbing up on stuff.
True.
So
Especially
Dude,
on
that's-
tables.
I mean, that's
eating.
where I'm glad I'm a Muslim.
yeah, go there,
Right there, bro, to the elbow.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That's
Wudu.
wudu, and it's I think the purest form of cleaning for for the most part. But yeah, man.
And you need the soap. Like you're right. Like the water's not enough because you have fat soluble things and water soluble things, and you're not gonna get the fat soluble stuff with water. You need the soap has a hydrophobic and hydrophilic part.
Yeah.
You can wash it off. So soap's necessary.
Am I correct in I remember seeing this somewhere, but even hand sanitizers like 5 to 10 years ago had some forms of what is it? What's the word for it? Antibiotics.
Yeah, the antimicrobial compounds. It's more of like the. It's not an antibiotic necessarily, just antimicrobial stuff that
Okay.
kills. Like it would
Gotcha.
kill any cell.
Yeah.
Like it would lyse the cell membranes and cause like cell death.
Because due to the pandemic, like you walk around stores and malls, and there's a
Yeah.
dispenser everywhere.
Yeah, I have to use it like 50 times a day. I think. I'm walking in every patient room.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? Like, do you actually like touch dirt? Do you have any specific way of making sure that you have microbes from a natural source as well?
Beach.
Beach.
Get barefoot, go in the
Okay.
water,
Yeah.
that kind of good stuff. If I was a kid or if I had kids, I would make sure that they played in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
There's the old friends hypothesis, where in countries where they have a lot of bacterial infections and helminth infections, so like worms, they don't have autoimmune diseases.
Interesting.
Like in Nepal, there's no Crohn's disease really in Nepal
Wow.
because you're getting exposed to these microbes and your immune system is trained to attack those microbes.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's actually one of my first YouTube videos was on this old friends hypothesis that like, are we too clean,
Mm.
which is causing all of this autoimmunity and stuff. And there's even people, and don't try this, it's not medical advice, that will sell you worms online
Oh.
for you to swallow if you
Wow.
have autoimmune disease. So then your part of your immune system, your eosinophils and your IgE will attack the worm instead of yourself.
Oh shoot. Okay. So
And there's a theory that will work.
yeah.
Once again, don't try this, folks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it seems like it's like that dark web kind of stuff,
Yes,
like
yes.
don't buy something because you don't know the source, obviously, but it could have some benefits to it, right?
And there's fecal transplants now.
Mm.
We do that for severe cases of bacterial infections, and there's even a theory that it might cure obesity.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a fit person, take their microbiome and put it into a obese person, it
Should do the effects of.
yeah. Hopefully, I don't get canceled for saying obese person, but
No, you won't.
person with obesity. just
Yes,
say.
Yeah.
there we go. Yes. That's a better term.
Is
for that.
is that actually available for just the overall public, or is that more of a medical thing?
It's a medical thing.
Yeah.
Don't try doing it at home.
course.
But what they do, either they package up. There's these super donors. So if you're fortunate enough, you can actually donate poop for money.
Oh wow.
And I think what they do is they get someone who's very healthy, probably never got antibiotics in their life, has like this ideal microflora. They package up their poop, either give it to you in a pill to swallow, or they'll go in like a GI colonoscopy and they'll
Yeah.
put it in direct into your gut.
Amazing. That's crazy. And we're just learning about the microbiome too. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
relatively new science, so
Anyone who says that they're an expert and they know everything,
Yeah.
they're lying. The experts say, hey, I don't know. We're still figuring this out.
Yeah, I mean, I had some gastrointestinal problems last year. I was in Spain, suddenly had to go to the emergency room first night. So it's kind of like the movies, you know.
Right.
First night there, kind of crazy, and then they're like, "Oh, what happened? You drink too much?" And I was like, "No, I'm just trying to eat." You know,
Just trying to survive out here.
and I get there, and what's funny is before that, I had some pain, so I had visited a doctor here through referrals. Took a couple months, found nothing. I was on omeprazole for a while.
Okay.
Right. All that did was just make me more sick.
Right.
Fast forward, I had lost about 43 pounds. I was sitting at 165 back then, deadlifting like a monster.
Oh,
I was getting there. Like my form was like, I remember it's just solidifying my form, and then I got sick.
Really?
Yeah, it was during that time. So I was like about 10 months in, finally feeling my body and all that stuff, and I just lost it all, you know?
How much do you weigh now?
I'm climbing up to 130 now.
And you were at 160?
I was at 113. I was at
that much weight,
165, dude. That's how much I lost that much weight in 4 months.
Oh, no.
So I found I had to, unfortunately, just suck it up and pay more for insurance, right?
Yeah, of course.
Found a better doctor.
Did you get a specialist?
Yeah, I got a specialist. And immediately he was like, yo, let's get you into Riverside Community Hospital next week. You might have to go through surgery, so we're just going to put you out anyway.
What would they find?
So they did an endoscopy. They found a bunch of scars from the previous years, right? Everyone telling me like nothing's going on, all that good stuff.
Right.
And this was all after Spain. So Spain, they kind of told me the same thing, omeprazole and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's what the PCPs, if they don't know what's going on, omeprazole is what they're
Omeprazole, yeah.
Interesting.
Antibiotic. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
There's just too much to know. Like
There
the
is.
PCP isn't going to know. They're going to be like, hey, I have these 3 tools.
Yeah.
I can kill bacteria. I can stop acid. And I can send you to a specialist. And insurance doesn't want you to a specialist right away.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you, hey, just go get some omeprazole, come back 2 weeks.
You're going to have to spend some time, essentially, and it's going to be confusing. But
if you, that's my advice to people. If your gut feeling, puns here, tells you that something's up, see the specialist.
Okay.
It's within your rights. Let them evaluate you, get a second opinion, especially if you're losing 40 pounds. That's unacceptable.
That was the part, because they don't know you. That's the thing is when people walk in, I think they're freaked out usually.
Yep.
And they assume that your doctor just knows everything about you, right?
They don't.
They don't. You're just you're another number walking in technically.
Right. The system sucks.
Yeah, the system kind of does suck, but you have to also let them know. Like when I let him know that I was 160 pounds and he weighs me, and he goes, "Whoa, when?" And you're like 2 months ago. He's like, "Okay, that's serious."
Yeah, weight loss is like a trigger for doctors. Like, hey, watch out.
Watch out, you know, all that good stuff. Same with the ER. Like I noticed if someone passes out, they're immediately in there, right?
Yeah.
Getting IVs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, chest pain, or if you're slurring your speech and you have like stroke-like symptoms, those are the priorities that ER docs are trained to look for.
Yeah. These are things we don't know. Because we get checked in for like, I need to get stitches, you know, you're just waiting for 10 hours. But
there's a way to game the system. Like if a family member needs to get in faster, there are, let's say, keywords they can use to trigger higher level of care or a certain study that we're privy to.
Of course they are. We would never know that because our system just caters to that. Right. Unfortunately. And it's accordance to you guys. Like you guys work with that system too.
Right.
Like there's no way you can obviously prioritize other things unless it's seriously serious.
Right. And there's way too many sick people.
Yeah.
The system's going to collapse. Like we had a guy code in our waiting room last week in the hospital because there's just too many people in the ER. And the guy was seriously sick, but everyone else was coming in, chest pain. And the guy didn't get seen. Code's in the ER. 30-year-old guy, like young dude.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. And the PCPs, the model's not good. Your family doctor used to know you. He could be your family doc. He'd know your mom. He'd know your dad. He'd know everybody in your family. He'd know you from when you were a kid. So if he saw you lose 40 pounds, he would have known.
Yeah.
But this PCP comes in, is going to see 20 patients that day, has 20 minutes to see you. 13 of those minutes are going to be typing. And literally. 7 minutes are to see you. It probably made eye contact twice. And then they're out. So the system's broken.
Yeah.
No doubt.
This is an interesting segue. I've always wanted to get your perspective on this because you are in the conventional system. You've acquired a medical degree, correct? And you're working towards even bigger things. How do you think about being in that system and then also exploring like the more holistic path that the system doesn't necessarily focus on?
Right. So I think before I was even a doctor, before I was even in med school, I like to evaluate things and look at things from a better perspective, look at alternative viewpoints. I like to, for the sake of knowledge, seeing what other people thought about it, whether it was the Ayurvedics in India or, ancient Greek medicine or, ancient Muslim Arabic medicine, whatever it was.
I love that. We're on the same train with that usually.
And some of that stuff is garbage, some of it's good. But we learn, we bounce off ideas, we see what works. And I would say the biggest thing I learned both in med school and undergrad, and the most important course I took was how to read research papers. It was a titled course was like how to read research papers like a scientist. And you can look into it and actually study stuff. You can evaluate things for yourself. Problem is most people aren't equipped with that.
Yeah.
Like one of the doctors I follow, Dr. Peter Attia, he has a whole course on his website of how to read research papers for like the layperson, which is really important because nowadays you have no choice. Like during the pandemic, you saw everybody was putting up papers and saying this journal says this and this journal says that. So I think with the modern day, and I know that's your guys' special area, you have to be vested in your own health.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be their own chaperone for their own health. You have no choice. There's too much information. There's too much stuff going on. But yeah, you try to blend both worlds. I think that modern medicine, the way I dichotomize it is modern medicine is great if you have a car accident, if you have, God forbid, some crazy cancer that's growing, you have, this catastrophic thing. There's nothing better than the American system.
Acute situations.
Yeah, acute situations. There's no medicine you're going to get better than the American system. Now, for prevention, for staying healthy, we fail at that. So that if you've heard the term salutogenesis versus pathogenesis. Yeah. So what we're trained in medical school is pathology, pathogenesis, how disease is spread. Patho means disease, and genesis, how it's created. While salutogenesis is not something that's taught, nor would it be possible to teach doctors.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, salutogenesis means salute, like in Spanish, means health, and genesis to create health. So my theory is that for pathogenesis, severe things, the medical system's great. For salutogenesis, the onus is going to be on the person and the community to provide that for people.
Gotcha.
It's like the work that you're doing online is great because you're providing that guidance for people.
It's all like the subtle things. Of course you have to have the fundamentals in place, but there's also within the fundamentals, you have subtle things that people really like for the most part need to follow, or else you're not going to make the most of the fundamentals.
Right. Because if you go back like 100 years, your pathogenesis was, you had a cold, flu, whatever it was, you'd see a doctor, he'd give you something and you'd go home. But your salutogenesis was like your grandma said, eat these eggs.
Yeah.
Take some cod liver oil. Take whatever it was. And we're not promoting Liver King.
Which we want to talk about later.
I would love to get into that. Yeah. But your grandma was your chaperone of health. She would tell you like this wisdom of like, hey, if you're cold, put on a jacket. And whether that's true or not, that's a different story. But that's how you were healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw the doctor only when you were sick. Now the people are trying to put the onus on the medical system to take care of you and prevent you from getting sick. I don't think we're equipped in 20-minute time slots to make people healthy. Like you work with people. What is it? It's hours of sessions to coach people and mentor people.
Generally 8 to 12 weeks, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's no doctor that's going to be able to do that. Nor is insurance going to bill for it.
For the most part, I think it's just fixing a worry in someone's mental state. That's
right.
Mostly what a hospital visit is. So like as a kid, like you mentioned, when you're a kid, you just get these things and you're going to be told you're all right. And you really don't think much of it. You just passes and it goes away. Obviously, you're better at recovering because you're a kid. But I think as growing into an adult, the number one thing that causes you to be even more severely sick is the fact that you're panicking about it. You're not sure what your mental state is doing. Your body's kind of like anxious about what's happening. It's confused. Your doctor's telling you more doctor things. He's not telling you practical things, right?
And at the level that you need to understand.
Yeah, so that's why we turn to holistic, I think.
Yeah, and there's the nocebo effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking that you're, for the audience, just thinking that you're having a problem can actually have symptoms. So there's studies where they feed somebody, water with sugar in it and tell them it's a poison and they pass out. So the power of your mind, both placebo and the opposite nocebo, can greatly influence your outcomes.
So we've all heard of mind over matter.
Right.
That is so true obviously to a degree, but I tested this when I had a kidney stone and I was in the emergency room. I remember I was saying, listen, I can either think that I'm dying or I can think that, this is just really painful right now.
That's why.
And if you took it and you go, hey, if it's probably a physical object within me, then whatever, it'll pass, right? And then you start telling yourself that. But then I get concerned for people that don't know how to tell themselves that, people that panic too much. Because I see that at the ER too. You get the kid that's like yelling at the nurse. He's like, I don't want to sit. Get away from me. And then you're like, whoa, this guy's a freaking psycho. Right. And there's a clear difference between how we just approach our feelings. We don't know how to feel about them.
Right. We're not trained.
We're not trained.
Everyone's on edge.
Yeah, and you think that a doctor is going to make you feel better about it, but they don't. What ends up happening is you get morphined, You get a bunch of vitamins loaded into you.
Yeah.
You're good to go, and you feel alive for a week, but you're still unsure.
It's not sustainable either.
See, that's when we turn that's when you turn into things like, why is Mountain Valley so popular? Why is raw milk good for you?
Right.
You know,
Like, man, I'll tell you, when my dad had his second heart attack, and we got billed after that whole situation, the bill came out to like almost $500K. Myocardial infarction. So they did a whole bunch of stuff.
They opened him up.
Everything.
Coronary angiogram. Yeah.
And my mom had to fight with the ambulance, for the ambulance ride, to make sure that we weren't charged for that.
Yeah. And then what people don't know, there's a doctor, Marty Bakri, where there are these old folks in cities that get billed, $500,000, $1 million, and they don't know, and they go bankrupt, they lose their homes. Yeah. You can fight and negotiate with the insurance companies and payment plan and hospitals and whatever it is. You can tell them, I'm not paying this much, and get your bill down. And there's even situations where I've had friends go in for minor procedures, and they're like, "Hey, with insurance, your copay is $1,000." He's like, "Hey, if I pay cash, how much do you want?" here's $400.
Yeah.
So because the system's broken, the doctors up bill the insurance companies,
sure,
knowing the insurance companies won't pay all that.
Oh. Wow.
So they'll say, "Hey, it's $5,000," but the insurance company will pay $3,000.
Okay, so then they're still winning.
The doctors,
technically, yeah.
The doctors are. I mean, the medical system, it sucks for doctors right now. Doctors are suffering. Like our pay is getting lower and lower.
Oh shoot!
So administrative costs are up. Insurance companies are making more. Pharmaceutical companies are making more, and for doctors, it sucks.
Yeah, I had no clue actually.
Yeah. So like people are like sour on doctors online. I get it. I think we failed during the pandemic at communicating clearly to people without getting into the controversy. But doctors are actually suffering. Like a lot of people are fed up with medicine, trying to leave.
Yeah.
Like also some of the smartest people are like, "Hey, why should I even be in this field to begin with?"
And there's an element of learned helplessness when it comes to the patient, because from a real standpoint, they're ignorant. They don't educate themselves on these things. So like, how do you go about, helping or fixing the mental game for patients and normal people? Right.
I had a attending, so that's like your professor, that we'd go into the patient. He's like, whenever you go in to see somebody, say one thing positive before you do anything. "Hey, you look better today."
Yeah.
Just that, you see the smile light up on the patient, they're going to feel better. And I think there is even some data to suggest that people that do that will get better faster. The power of the placebo or whatever it is. So you want to provide guidance. You want to provide optimism to the patient. You want to tell them something positive. But the unfortunate thing about the system is that the doctors are rushing in and out of rooms to quickly get out, to write their notes so they can see their family. Like a lot of doctors, the PCPs, they're finishing from 8 to 5 and they're going home and writing notes for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's unsustainable.
Man, I mean, I don't blame doctors, to be honest. It's brutal, dude. And the thing is, I'm a patient man, right? So when I'm sitting in an ER or whatever, I understand and I see what's going on. So it's kind of like, damn. I don't blame them for not saying, "Hey, how are you?" Sometimes you literally don't have time. You just want to figure out this next
tough
case.
situation to be in.
Especially in the ER, they're seeing 30 people for...
Bro, you guys are humans.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Is that when you go for a service, this is a thing we do here. When you go for a service, you take the human out of everybody and you see them as like, just to serve me for this thing. Right?
In that situation, yeah.
So if you go to Carl's Jr. and you're like, "Hi, can I take your order?" You don't see them as a person, right? For the most part, unless you really think about it.
Yeah, you see their name tag.
It's the practice of that. Yeah, so that's one of my things, is to always kind of show my audience and show people that, like, take every subject, take any detail out of anybody and just focus on they're a human.
Right.
They all came from somewhere, just like you did. Okay. Therefore, they're not robots. It's okay to say hi. It's okay to do things. It's okay for them not to.
Right.
You got to understand that, because it's like the way you act, the way they're going to act too. And everyone lives a different day, different hour, different time, different life, different circumstances. So it's always cool to see that, sure, doctors may seem cold, but they're not.
Right. It's just the system in which...
It's the system. Look, if you have 50, like today's a busy day for a hospital.
Yeah.
Right? Every day's busy, but today's busy, I can't even imagine.
Right. Yeah. And like FYI, the medical system is probably on the verge of collapse.
It seems like it.
In the next, I'm not optimistic over the next, 24 to 36 months.
Yikes.
We don't have like massive problems. If people are dying in waiting rooms. And I think that stems to the fact that, society's broken.
Yeah.
We know this. You guys talk about it a lot. There's homelessness, there's the opioid epidemic, there's obesity, there's all these things that are broken. And the onus of this is falling on the medical system. So homeless people, they come in, and unfortunately, they come into the hospital and they get a bed for the night. That's a bed that someone else can't take.
Yeah.
And they know how to game the system. If they say they have chest pain, they're in there for the night. Unfortunately, it's just the reality of it. Wow. People are, psychotic. They're having mental health issues, and God help them. But it's not the family system taking care of that anymore. It's the doctors. That's another bed gone. And, there's all these anxiety online of people like, oh, if you have this, you might have an heart attack. Better go to get checked out.
Yep. Yeah.
So the medical system is doing the role of the family.
Incredible insight. This is why I wanted you on, man. I'm learning things literally by the minute. So
literally, dude.
I appreciate that.
Of course, man.
I know that you went on you were telling me this over DM, but you were saying that you went on a raw milk rabbit hole quite a while ago. Yeah. But we just came out with a episode about raw milk.
Right. I listened to it.
You listened to it?
Yeah. Great.
So what are first of all, you saw what we talked about. We were talking about like going back home and visiting the villages and all that good stuff.
Drinking it raw.
Yeah, drinking it raw. And it's incredibly sweet and somehow did not mess me up.
Right.
Now, seeing that this has been since, I don't know, my first ancestors, they've been drinking raw milk forever.
Right.
This is the first country I've heard where it's kind of been slightly banned.
Slightly.
Makes me feel a little weird, about the system here.
Right.
But what is your take on raw milk? Do you think it is good or bad?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Definitely, but we'll get into it.
Pros and cons.
But like I was telling you, I went down that rabbit hole like 10 years ago. So before I was a doctor, before I was in med school, somebody had mentioned that farmers don't get cancer or something like that. Some kind of like tidbit. Okay. It's the general knowledge that people talk about. That's true. And I got obsessed with that idea. I don't think that's true. I think that farmers get sick like everyone else. But I got obsessed with the idea. And I started researching like, what do farmers do differently than everyone else? Number one, their circadian rhythms are great.
True. Yeah. True.
They wake up with the chickens and they sleep at night because there's no lights, and they're not in the cities.
It's true.
So they're sleeping great. Number two, they're getting raw milk, they're getting eggs that are fresh, they're raw honey, straight from the source. So I identified these traits of farmers, like, hey, what are they doing that's going well? I wanted to get off the grid, go just drink milk. I looked in trying to get camel milk. It's too expensive.
There's way too expensive.
There's some companies that sell it here like raw, but it was too expensive. I was like, maybe I can buy a goat. Milk it at home. I have some friends out in San Bernardino. They have a goat farm. I tried their milk. It's amazing. Yeah. We would milk it like fresh, and then we would drink it. And I was like, wow, this is so different. It's warm. It's not the cold. It's creamy. It's kind of like a thick,
tastes like ice cream.
Yeah.
Yep. So, consistency.
At the very beginning, did you feel any stomach pain when you first take like a sip or anything like that?
I have like an iron gut, so it's hard for me to say. Yeah. Like I know my biases. My gut can take anything.
Okay. That's awesome, dude.
So it's just the way it is.
Lucky for this guy.
But I know my weaknesses and I know my strengths. And like I eat stuff and I have people are like, oh, I'm bloated, I'm this. I'm like, sometimes I'll feel that, but
yeah. That's incredible, bro. That's a superpower.
But I move things quickly, let's just say.
Okay.
And considering your training regimen and everything like that, that all helps.
Yeah, that's probably what is part of it too. There might be other causes too, but the raw milk is interesting because the medical system freaks out about it. Like we're trained, we have exam questions, and in the exam question, they throw you a hint. Patient comes in, they're having seizures, and they have meningitis. What do you ask them? What do you ask the family members? One of the questions is, did you eat raw cheese? Did you drink raw milk? And the reason is that there's a concern for, they call it zoonotic infections. So zoonosis got big with the bats and COVID and all that stuff.
Okay.
Maybe I shouldn't say that so you guys don't get taken down on YouTube, but
don't worry, we're good. We're talking about a lot of.
You mean bleep and bleep?
Yeah,
bleep and bleep.
Bleep and bleep. But zoonotic spread. So this is the disease that spreads from animal to human being. And there's a big concern about, 3 or 4 organisms, Listeria, Brucella, some strains of tuberculosis spreading from cow to human. And there's been outbreaks. There's been horror stories of a little kid that gets Listeria, gets meningitis, and passes. There's the biggest concern for immune compromised people. So pregnant ladies, people, young kids, older individuals. And what I've seen from the pandemic, my own eyes, is anyone who has metabolic syndrome, I consider that pseudo immune compromised.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed the people that did the worst for me in the hospital had some kind of metabolic dysfunction that put them in the ICU.
Oh, shoot.
Right. So that's the weight there. Now, what you guys were talking about, and you guys hit it on the head, is that if you have this healthy cow on this green pasture, it's taken care of well, it's grazing, it's taken care of well by the farmer, you get that milk, probably going to be good for you.
Yeah.
And probably not going to have those diseases. When you have the disaster that is the American capitalistic system and trying to scale that to have raw milk, that's where I see a problem. So if you're living on a farm and you're milking your cows, I guess it's probably not studied. The cereal risk is less, brucella risk is less. And these are bad infections. Like they can be normal or like a brief infection for someone who's healthy and robust, but someone who's slightly not there, it can be devastating. Brucella, you have to take like 6 to 8 weeks of antibiotics, usually IV, to get rid of it. It gets in your joints and get reactivated. Listeria can get in your brain. Tuberculosis is horrible. So the tension that you guys were discussing is the old world concern with pathogens and the new world concern with health. The old world, you die from pathogens. There's this big killer that's like, you're going to get tuberculosis, you're going to get a fever. Fever meant death sentence for people. Nowadays, fever, pop a Tylenol, and you're done. You're good. But nowadays, we have the opposite problem where infectious problems aren't a big thing for most people, but it's chronic disease. It's metabolic dysfunction. It's diabetes. It's cancer. It's heart disease. So what you guys are really getting into is that tension. And what I'm trying to do as someone who's in the medical field and someone who's more into like, I hate the word holistic. I hate it because the people use it online.
I get you. Yeah. The personas behind it.
It's good when it's used, but the problem is charlatans abuse it too.
Yeah, of course.
Armchair philosophers.
Yeah, armchair philosophers. I like to look at the whole picture. Is that what are healthy things we can do safely without the risk of someone getting some kind of crazy thing? And we're very litigious here. So part of the reason the medical system is broken, part of the reason that pasteurized milk is growing is one case is going to happen. One kid's going to get listeria. There's going to be a giant lawsuit. And guess what? That farm's out of business.
It's going to be demonized and everything. Yeah.
Right. So there's that tension. Now, is it even theoretically possible, I'll put that question to you guys, to even scale the raw milk to everybody? Like
no, I don't think so. Just because of the way things like get mass produced here.
Yeah.
There's always, think of any company right now. There's always low tier. Where it's like, it's advertised, it's organic and this and that, but it's not, right? There's just too much shit in it.
I don't think it's possible if you approach it from the factory farm model.
Agreed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to have to be because it's highly mass produced. Like, think of the United States. Like, if I were to picture Saudi Arabia, for example, it's a big country, right? But just take the city that's populated, it's not that big.
No.
Yeah. It really isn't.
It's not as populated as here.
So like I can see why maybe there's a lot more villages, more access to farms right around the corner.
Yeah. But so the idea is instead of a factory farm, one large conglomerate, you want to localize everything to wherever people live. So you have hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of little farms that supply this sort of stuff. But even then, like that's such a tough situation considering the context.
Right. And I think decentralization is better for everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like, we're going to run out of jobs very soon with Elon Musk and AI and all that stuff. So why not have people that are farmers?
Big time.
That's a good job that should come back. Like it's a career you can make out of yourself. Unfortunately, the Walmartification and the Amazonification of the whole system is that the small guy's gone. There's no longer a mom and pop shop. There's no longer a mom and pop farm. There's a giant conglomerate of farms that are now producing everything. So it's the bastardization of the food system. Monsanto, you said Nabisco was the one you mentioned. Yeah.
Nabisco.
Yeah.
Integrity Farms.
Yeah. So like these giant conglomerates, because they can produce at scale.
Yeah.
It's just the market demands. So like a lot of people like to be, cynical or conspiratorial about the system. A lot of times it's just aligned to incentives. The incentives are to make money.
To me, it's logic.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a huge clear thing when you study the mind of logic and all this good stuff. There's a way of thinking for things, okay? And it's like saying, hey, a kidney stone is just painful, right? But I can go, the kidney stone is a rock. I need to know what size it is so I know how to knock it down. I'm going to punch myself until it, You could do that, technically. It's just going to hurt.
Right.
So there's like a physicality point of how you picture things to begin with. And that's where logic comes from. And there's a logical aspect to that, okay? If something is hidden from you so hard, it has to be gold. Okay, that's just the way I see it. If someone's going to see the world as evil and every single person on this world is evil, then you're the one that's evil.
Or the mentality is evil, at least.
You get me? Like, it's kind of, there's a cloudiness there. And I think that's where the controversy is, but there really is no controversy. It's just more like recognize what kind of person you are, first of all, because I think I mentioned this too, but you can't just be relatively healthy, I think, to be messing with bacteria, but you need to be pretty healthy, like more than relatively healthy, basically. So if you're slightly off track, is what you said, it could cause problems.
Right. And what happens is it's one cow or a couple cows that are sick. Yeah. And then the milk is produced like, they pump them out like slaves. And then that milk goes to 500 people and they all have an outbreak. And then that gets on the news and people are scared.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, but it's because you treat the cow so poorly. So it goes back to the whole treatment. And
that's the thing, is treatment's going to change. Obviously, you're not going to, it's like you're going to become a doctor at that point, right? You're going to have too many cows sitting in a waiting room.
100%. Yeah,
and just pump them out. Yeah.
And the vets are just injecting everyone with
exactly. And and basically, like, even if you don't have a factory over you, that's basically a factory, because you're no longer taking that one-on-one with a cow. And that's what makes that's what ruins it.
Yeah. And then one thing that we're actually going to cover this in a future episode, biodynamic farming, permaculture.
Oh, yeah. That's the way to go.
That's something that I think is extremely important if we want to make a transition, not fully maybe, but at least make some progress in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. Regenerative farming, using things ideally, the crops are better, the animals are better, the humans should be better.
Not destroying our topsoil like we are today. It's wild.
Right. We've wrecked society. And that's why like the whole farmer story, like it resonated with me. I'm like, hey, farmers are healthier. Why? They're in the field working all day too. They're getting their exercise in without going to the gym.
Yeah.
They're using a shovel, they're doing whatever they're doing. It's a more holistic lifestyle. We don't have that luxury in the modern space because everybody's in suburbia or you're in the inner city and you have to quickly feed all these people. And what's the best way to quickly feed people? Cheap, full of fat, sugar, and protein and everything. Let's get milk quickly in a farm, get it out to everybody. The milkman delivers it to everybody. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like you mentioned, there's a great machine that we can pasteurize with. I mean, Louis Pasteur changed the world.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a segue. Liver King.
Oh man.
Oh wait, hold on. Before we get into Liver King,
Primals.
We're gonna pause right here for our mid-roll ad, and we'll continue in just a second. This episode is actually sponsored by Ekster. Ekster wallets, creating the future of wallets. It is amazing. I have mine right here, actually. I have the carbon fiber edition. Pretty neat.
Give them one reason why they should get an Ekster wallet instead of a conventional one.
Well, conventional wallets, I would say, are very flimsy. They lose their shape over time. They're just not up to standard with how things are going today, Like
just
if my
boring.
iPhone is sturdy, I would like to have a sturdy wallet.
Yeah.
And if I drive a Benz, I would like to have a wallet that kind of matches my presence or aura, whatever you want to call it. Different occasions. At the end of the day, it's a very stealthy wallet. Holds 12 cards, 6 up here, and then 6 in the back, along with your ID.
So smooth.
Really cool. Has a band for your clips. It also comes. Oh, they do sell cash clips as well if you want that.
Yeah.
But use code 2am, and the link is in the description below.
And by getting yourself an Ekster wallet or an Ekster product through our link and using our code, you also support the podcast so we can create more content and bring you more heat.
Hell yeah. All right. And we're back. So the Liver King has been a huge topic past week.
Yep.
Got exposed. We already exposed him before.
I mean, he was already exposed.
The 10th ancestral tenant, you forgot about it.
Sorry.
The injection. I mean, I guess, like, what are your general thoughts on this whole situation? Because it's a tough one.
I consider an IQ test. If you thought that he was natural, then that's a pretty negative IQ indicator. No. Here's the thing. I've been training for over 10 years. I've competed in powerlifting competitions. I've tried to max out every ounce of muscle possible. And I've seen what's possible. I even have some genetic polymorphisms that allow me to put on more muscle.
Oh, wow.
But I still haven't been able to get that physique. So if you've been in that field, you know what it's like to put on muscle and how hard it is to have full-on abs and shredded veins everywhere. And he's this amazing physique. We knew. Everyone in the lifting community.
Yeah, that's one of the first indicators.
But the thing is, there's a disincentive to make amazing physique so you can have a story, get more views, sell your products. And he's having cognitive dissonance. It's the first lie he tells himself, like, hey, I know I'm lying to people. But if I do lie to people and they take on these good tenets, which some of them are good, there's some wisdom there, it's a good net positive. So it's a lie we tell ourselves. Like, it's okay as long as it's Machiavellian. You know, the dark triad, one of them is Machiavellianism. So if you're Machiavelli is the author of The Prince, right? He's
Yes. Yeah.
He says that the ends justify the means. And I think it's what Liver King said. Like, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'll lie. We'll get through and it'll be fine. But he got people believing that if you eat liver, you're going to look like that. And those poor people, they all bought his expensive supplements. Liver's very cheap. If you want to eat livers, get it for cheap from your butcher. They throw it away sometimes. And you can have the benefits of liver, which are debatable. But it's just disingenuous, and it's the whole fitness industry. He's not the only one.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like he's one of the ones that got uncovered, but there's probably a list somewhere of everyone that they know of. You know?
Oh, I know. Yeah. There's labs that are sent to me. That
My God. That's why we got this guy.
I know pharmacists at different places, and I know what people are cashing prescriptions.
Wow.
So it's very widespread.
Wow.
Without breaking
more than we thought.
That's not even to mention hypervitaminosis and all of these other problems that they're real and severe.
Yeah, there's two guys that went to Antarctica, and they were with their dog. They got stranded. They ate their dog. And they ate the liver first. The guy who ate the liver died from the hypervitaminosis D.
How quickly did he die?
I don't know the full details of the story, but I think it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because he ate the whole liver. Dog liver is especially rich. Don't eat dogs, guys.
Of course.
Dog liver is especially rich in vitamin D, vitamin A. So you got toxicity there in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So like there's risks that people don't realize. And the supplement industry has pros and cons, but it's not regulated by the FDA. And you could say whatever you want with the FDA. But at least they try to protect certain people from certain things.
Yeah, okay. Do be making sense. This is a good venture onto nootropics. I know you've come from a bunch of, you've tried a bunch of different kinds of nootropics, from ashwagandha to L-theanines to all kinds of stuff, right? And we know what the FDA says about that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, what is the deal with all these nootropics? Like, everyone has one now.
Yep.
And everyone is so lacking focus these days, apparently.
Right. I call it acquired ADHD.
Yeah, exactly. Acquired ADHD.
You know, armchair ADHD.
I gotta trademark that, but
yeah. Did someone say ADHD?
I posted a video and the ADHD mob came after me.
Yeah.
They're like, you're so insensitive to our needs. You don't understand that 1 in 5 people have ADHD. Like, if 1 in 5 people have it, then it's not a pathological variant. It's a normal variant.
Yeah. Logic.
So, I mean, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, if this is the bell curve of ADHD, these are your hyperfocusers and this is your ADHD people, the whole curve shifted over.
Yeah.
Where now more of the people in the middle are experiencing symptoms that would be associated with ADHD, the lack of focus, lack of motivation, and all these things. But what I tell people is that ADHD, those people can hyperfocus.
Yeah.
It's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So if they like something, they can hyperfocus. So one of the screening tests we do, if somebody says, I can't focus at all on anything, that's not ADHD. It's something else. You're depressed, you have anxiety, you have some kind of neuroinflammation, who knows what. That's not ADHD. But the idea behind nootropics, to get back to your question, is that your brain is your earning power. People make money based on how much they can think, make content, create ebooks and PDFs and books and make podcasts. That's how you make money nowadays. So your brain power, it needs to be on complete focus. So people are looking for ways to maximize that.
Yeah.
And this goes back even to World War II, where one side fought with amphetamines and one side fought with methamphetamines.
Yeah.
I was reading this book called Blitzed, where they talk about the methamphetamine use in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
That might have tipped the balance of the war, because methamphetamine doesn't allow you to sleep at night. So the Allies are using amphetamine, the Axis power is using methamphetamine, and they can't sleep.
One's losing,
which a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, I mean, JFK was getting shot up with testosterone, amphetamine, mixed bags.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, a lot of presidents too, not just him.
Yeah. I would love to see what they were shooting up Joe Biden, but
that is the super cocktail.
yeah, I want to know what his nootropic But nootropics, it starts in the 70s. I think 72, some Romanian guy, he comes up with the word nootropics from the Greek. Noot is for like to the brain, and tropic is turning to, so you're turning towards the brain.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And he accidentally makes the first nootropic, which is I think it's one of the racetams. It's probably parastam.
Yeah.
He's trying to make a GABA substance to treat epilepsy and treat myoclonus. It's supposed to calm the brain. He's like, if I manipulate this molecule, it'll get into the brain because there's a blood-brain barrier that disallows certain compounds to pass because you don't want everything entering your brain. Your brain's very sensitive. It doesn't have its own immune system parts. It doesn't have nerves that feel. So your brain's a very dangerous place to get things that you don't want there. Shoot. And hello, inflammation. Now, he makes this compound. He thinks it's going to make people relax and be sedated, and it amplifies their brain. They're more powerful, more energetic, and their memory's better. They can learn things quicker, and he coins the term.
Yeah.
And he has like 5 things that what he says that you have to have in order to be a nootropic. Like number 1, it has to enhance learning and memory. Number 2, it should enhance your brain in the face of stress. So whether it's hypoxic stress or lack of sleep, or they use electroconvulsive therapy back in the day.
Yeah.
Number 3 was like it shouldn't have any side effects like traditional stimulants. Number 4 was like it should no side effects. It should protect your brain. We talked about it should enhance general brain function as you age.
Okay.
And I forget what the 5th one was. We'll pull that up for y'all.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I have it written down. Should aid in, so we'll go through that again. So it should aid in working memory and learning, support brain function under stressful states, protect the brain from physical or chemical toxicity. Natural cognitive functions are enhanced, and it requires non-toxic effects to humans without depression or stimulation of the brain and minimal side effects.
Gotcha.
So technically, like Adderall, amphetamines, all these things should not even be considered nootropics. I would say like there's a general bucket of brain boosters, and there's nootropics and there's stimulants in that bucket, and people try to make their stacks, and that crosses over.
Yeah.
Proprietary blends and all that.
Yeah, Adderall is interesting because going through school, everyone that was around me would tell me, "You don't take Adderall? Like you have a final tomorrow. What's wrong?"
I wish I knew that earlier.
But because from what I know is that it's just a really light cocaine. Technically, is it that same class of drug?
There are different classes of drugs. They have a little bit of a different mechanism. They end up with the dopamine peaks that are sought after. It's the dopamine that you get that makes work fun. Cocaine's a very short half-life. That's why people will take a bunch of bumps of cocaine, and a bump is
not a line. Just
no experience with cocaine.
Just a lot of research.
Don't do coke, guys.
Yeah,
don't.
I'm just breathing. Don't worry.
Yeah, but amphetamines work to increase dopamine in certain parts of the brain that you want dopamine increased for focus, for mood, for enjoying the work. But they have similar effects, different mechanisms. But that's beyond the point. Amphetamines and methamphetamine as well. The difference between amphetamine and methamphetamine is just a carbon and 3 hydrogens. And it makes it bind stronger to the receptor. That's what methamphetamine does. But Adderall, I wish I said, and you, like you said, that my classmates, maybe 30, 40% were using amphetamine. I'd go study in the morning, study for 3-4 hours, and I'd be exhausted. I'd go to the gym, work out, come back, and people would still be sitting in the same exact spot studying for 12 hours. And they're doing, they're the 99th percentile in my class, and I'm getting by, but I'm not doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And everyone's on it.
So you see a clear difference.
Oh, it's night and day.
What the hell?
That's not to say it doesn't come with some serious side effects.
There's no free lunch.
Yeah.
There's no free lunch. You're stealing from tomorrow. That's how I look at it. You're stealing from tomorrow's energy and tomorrow's focus. And there's weird things where people start acting out weird. There's personality changes. There's a bunch of problems that come with amphetamines. Now, there's a clinical indication. And the whole ADHD thing is debatable. But there's no free lunch. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this is a deep rabbit hole. So there are a lot of things we can talk about here. What do you use either regularly or semi-regularly? And like, what are the 3 nootropics that you focus on?
Right. I have the joke that the best nootropic is 1,3,7-trimethylxanthine, which is better known as caffeine.
Which I didn't know, by the way. That's an incredible name for it.
You guys hear that?
Yeah, 1,3,7-trimethylxanthine. The xanthines are the classes like theobromine, caffeine. They all come from that same family. I think that's the best cognitive boost. If you see Michael Pollan's work on that, it comes back to the pasteurization. The ability to brew coffee and distill coffee and kill all the bacteria might have led to the Industrial Revolution and us getting on the moon. Because before that, people would have to drink alcohol to have safe water intake. Because water, there were sewers, you'd have a cholera outbreak, you'd die. But you'd brew alcohol to drink. That was a safer thing, but your cognitive faculties are gone.
Yeah.
But coffee allows you to brew, you kill all the bacteria because you heat it up and you get this brain boost. So not only are you getting protected from the bacteria, but you're getting this cognitive boost.
Wow.
And
I can see that.
yeah, caffeine changed the world.
Yeah.
And our society is caffeinated. I mean, the speed I speak with, everything that happens is because of caffeine.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
So that
That's
would
so
be
cool
number
to think
one.
about. Yeah.
And knowing how to use it. I'm putting together some stuff on how to use caffeine properly, how to cycle on and off. There's tricks to use caffeine, and people abuse it. Like they're drinking 3-4 bangs a day, and they're insensitive to caffeine.
Insane.
Like my last video just blew up about energy drinks, and people are like, "Oh, I drink a bang and I go to sleep." You are very deranged at that point. If you are drinking an energy drink and sleeping, not to mention that your sleep quality is probably complete garbage.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can even get us to sleep,
Yeah.
it's just there's even some kind of variant or something else going on.
You know who you are.
Yeah, you
do know
they
who
do
you
know
are,
they are.
I know plenty.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I drank an energy drink, I was like shaking. I was like, "Oh my god, what's going on?"
Yeah. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It absolutely doesn't feel right.
It's a little too much stimulation because a coffee, there's the speed effect that you have to slowly sip it. You can't just chug it down. But the energy drink, you can just down it real quick. So like yerba mate, you can't chug that either. Like yerba mate has to be slowly
Sipped on
through the bombilla, I think. And all the soccer players are doing that in the World Cup. But you can't just down that, or you feel like, oh, I don't feel good. Like I'm anxious. What's going on?
Yeah, you feel like a rhino almost,
Right.
or Wolverine. God damn.
And like you add in other things like sleep deprivation, poor food intake, and then you just rail stimulants. Like I've seen friends pass out in the gym because of it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's very
dude.
dangerous.
Yeah.
You can get into tachyarrhythmia, where like if you're predisposed to an arrhythmia, you may have never known that, and then you down some caffeine. There's cases of kids downing 3 monsters and then they die because their heart goes into this crazy arrhythmia. They're in VT, ventricular tachycardia.
Yeah.
No one shocks them because no one knows how to use AED, which everybody learn how to use an AED. It could save lives. We have it in the gyms always, and people suffer. So there's pros and cons. If you know how to use caffeine, how to dose it. Like I have a regimen where if I'm working 7 days straight, I'll slowly uptick the caffeine dose and then withdraw the dose significantly on day 8 and 9 so that my caffeine tolerance comes back. So there's tricks to it. There's ways to consume it. There's caffeine gums, caffeine in coffee. There's things you can pair with caffeine like theanine, like you were mentioning. So there's ways to use caffeine smartly, and I think no one has guidance on that. So hint, it's probably a startup idea.
Yeah.
But
Big startup idea.
Yeah.
I gotta say I've been on Ashwagandha for the past 2 years now.
TikTok's
But
favorite.
on and off. Yeah, on and off. I gotta say this. One thing I noticed with a lot of people that take supplements is that they take them daily.
Yeah.
I know that spacing them out is probably better for you. That's just my logic mind speaking again, because you don't want to be dependent and build tolerances for things. I think your body is just inevitably going to do that with whatever you take.
Right.
So taking that 3 times a week, maybe skipping 2 days in between, ashwagandha has really helped me take on a lot of things and hit flow state with all of it, as if my life is just my job.
Yep.
And everything around it is just a part of it. So there's no longer like my career is my life.
Yeah.
It's just everything's a part of it. So my family, my siblings, my work, the 2 a.m. podcast, having you come over, like all that is just becoming a part of you. And it's like compressing it into a nice, good stress.
Right.
I wouldn't say
They call it
not
eustress is the word.
Yeah, eustress.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. I think that's the only supplement I would ever just focus on taking forever.
Really? You like it that much?
I like it that much. It's helped me a lot. Because
I use it. I always keep ashwagandha on hand, and it's TikTok's darling because some people say you get numb from it, and maybe that's true. I have a video coming out on it, but I use ashwagandha before a 28-hour shift. We do ridiculous things in medicine.
Yeah.
So I work for 28 hours. The amount of stress load is crazy. I'm not sleeping, and ashwagandha makes me feel like my stress beaker. So everybody has a stress beaker. It's the amount of stress you can take. And overflow, you have panic attack or you collapse. It makes that bigger. You suddenly feel you can take on more. You can pour more water in that.
Yeah.
beaker. So you feel like you have this threshold to take on things more. And that's how the Ayurvedics would use it. So that's an Ayurvedic thing. Ancient India, they would use ashwagandha as an adaptogen. It helps you adapt to whatever situation you're in. And these plant compounds, the cool thing about them, as opposed to traditional medicines, is they do many things subtly. While a medicine hits one receptor really hard, like amphetamines, they hit that dopamine really hard. Ashwagandha does a couple things subtly well.
So it balances everything out.
Yeah, it's supposed to, if you're too high on this, too low on this, it balances things out. I think that's going to be an emerging space. There's good data that it will improve sleep quality and decrease feelings of tiredness and stress. That's getting established in the data. But it's very reductionist view of like, oh, ashwagandha does this.
Yeah.
There's more to it. There's more nuance to it. That's why we were talking in the beginning. You need to look at what other people are doing. What is their way of using this?
Yeah, that's true. And before that, I like the root of things usually. Yeah. So like you said, look at the fishermen, look at the farmers, look at the people that were Vikings and things, the ones that were hunters. Like, what were they doing? Right. Okay, first of all, they were barefoot. Their material clothing was different material, 100%. So I'm pretty sure it was more breathable, right? For the most part, your nuts and dick were hanging, right? 100%. Or
the ancestral
you had a garment that would cover it and then some clothes over it.
It's
way different.
The garment now kills
your feet are on the dirt. You're in the sun daily. Like, think of you're having source only food too. Like, you're not having like hot Cheetos,
right?
Because that's a mix of shit. Like, you're just having meat, fish.
Simplicity, man. Simplicity.
Very simple, and it's like that. I think reverting back to that, or at least infusing some of that within the modern day. That's where it's all at, and I think that's where kind of happiness starts. Really.
Right. If you layer on this healthy, holistic living where you are the own chaperone of your own health with the background and the support of the modern medical system, where it's an emergency switch that you pull on if something catastrophic happens, you will be very healthy. And that's the way to do it. But if you think that the medical system is going to teach you how to eat healthily, most doctors aren't healthy.
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, they only get a few hours of nutrition training, if that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want a doctor teaching nutrition anyways.
Yeah.
Because we have a whole specialty for it.
Exactly.
Nutritionist. And there's way too much to learn in medical school to the point where it's impossible nowadays. Each specialty is so, what do they call it, siloed. So there's a silo for each specialty now, and they don't communicate. So it's very difficult to learn all this. And, you saw a doctor for 20 minutes. How are you going to teach in 20 minutes how to eat properly?
Yeah.
That's something that grandma should have done. But grandma no longer lives in the house.
Yeah.
Grandma's kicked out. She's in the nursing home.
Yeah.
So that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I know we're doing this mostly for the younger generation to follow along too. We want this to be out there forever, basically.
Yep. Evergreen.
But if there's any tips or pieces of advice that you'd like to give just us in general, humans, dude. Like,
or at least in regards to nootropics, because I
didn't answer your question. The three nootropics is what you asked, right?
Yes.
Is it caffeine? So 137 trimethylxanthine is number one. And this will be context dependent, and it'll depend on how your baseline is. If you're dopamine out and you're very anxious, or you're very mellow and you need to be stimulated a little bit, that's the thing. If you're very anxious and you're kind of on edge always, theanine is nice. It's nice and smooths things out. Of course, not medical advice. Talk to your doctor first. It's a nice nootropic that people like. There are the racetams. I'm not that impressed by the effects. Some of them tend to do things, but that's a whole rabbit hole that I don't think the average person wants to get into.
Yeah.
And I think the third one is creatine,
which I've been taking big time lately.
Yeah, and we talked about that on Twitter. You were talking about things that need to supplement on and off, but it feels like there's some things that are good to have as a base, like the choline in eggs, the creatine that you can get in meat and through supplements. There's good data suggesting that creatine boosts cognitive function. Like, some people take it for muscle. I care about it more for the cognitive effects.
I've taken creatine before in pill form. And one thing I've noticed is when you read the bottle, it tells you take it before your workout and then immediately after, right?
Right.
Usually. So I noticed one thing. I was starting to become more curious, and I was starting to enjoy reading more. Along with training. I was like, I don't think it's muscle synthesis or anything. So I started actually researching it, and it turns out that there is strong articles that suggest that it has good brain function.
Yep. Enhances memory formation.
Is mind-blowing because it's creatine.
Yeah.
I've always formed it to this water in your body and the muscle,
Yeah.
But what makes it, is it something that binds to a receptor? What's going on there?
Creatine helps with, the ATP, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell.
Yes.
I'll learn that. Creatine helps in there because there's a creatine monophosphate donor system, and it helps you recharge your ATP faster. You can donate a phosphate from ADP to become ATP, adenosine diphosphate, adenosine triphosphate. So it helps that better. So you should theoretically have better brain ability, brain energy, let's say, at the cellular level, and that helps you function better at a holistic level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, the best way I can say this is it takes social anxiety out of you. Every once in a while, everyone will go through this. I could be a confident male sometimes, and other times you'll just overthink things.
Yeah.
But you notice that little trigger goes away.
It's because we all have DNA from similar regions, or the same regions, let's say. So we tend to have problems methylating compounds. We have this methyl gene, MFHTR. It's not mother effer, it's something else that allows you to methylate things. The whole body is about different reactions. Lipases, lactase that you're talking about in the last podcast that do things. Methylation is a key reaction that happens in the body. You add a methyl group onto something or take a methyl group out, which is the carbon and the hydrogen, carbon and 3 hydrogens. And choline, creatine help do that. So if you have a buildup of these unmethylated products, you can't remove the methyls off of dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. Those build up in your brain. And you likely have another genetic polymorphism called COMT, catechol-O-methyltransferase, that transfers the methyl groups. You have a buildup of that. Your dopamine curve is shifted all the way to the right. So you have way too much dopamine. You're anxious. You're stimulated. You're not feeling good. And the creatine is moving you back to the center.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So some people, they have the opposite problem where they have too little methylation and they would benefit from, or too much methylation.
Yeah.
And they benefit the opposite way. But creatine's nice because it kind of
works
subtly in the background. It's not a stimulant. You're not going to take it and suddenly feel like you just drank an espresso, but you're going to feel that your brain's going to function better.
I know vegans, I've heard that creatine is very beneficial for vegans because they don't eat meat and all that.
Creatine, choline, carnitine are like the 3 C's I always tell people if you want to boost your brain function without jumping into a giant stimulant or nootropics. Those work in the background, kind of make sure everything functions well.
Yeah. I love that. I need to go back on it. Another one, glycine.
Yeah.
Glycine it did me well for a while.
Glycine also helps with methylation.
There we go.
They're all working up there.
Yeah.
With we all have methylation problems. And these were taken care of by older diets. You'd eat bone broth. It's high in glycine. You'd drink soup because you use all parts of the animal. You'd eat the organs, the liver king. It's rich in choline. Choline's great for the brain because acetylcholine is one of the main neurotransmitters in the brain. You can only get choline in mostly meat sources. So eggs and liver are the big ones. And vegans, unfortunately, are deficient in those. So if someone wants to do veganism, that's their choice. But they should think about and talk to somebody about proper supplementation around that so that they can get the benefit of some of the stuff from animal products. So like B12, choline, carnitine, taurine, maybe some other B vitamins also. Yeah. Those are the main ones.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why veganism is one of the most hardest diets to follow, in my opinion, because you have to make sure the supplementation is dialed in.
And people feel great for the first 3 months because they get rid of the standard American diet. But once these micronutrient deficiencies set in, start feeling like crap. They don't have B12. They don't have choline. They don't have carnitine, creatine. You have some left over from before, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
So they feel good initially because they've gotten rid of all the crap. They're not eating hamburgers and stuff anymore. And then they're eating vegetables. They're eating, beans and all these, probably beneficial things. Although like Carnivore MD would disagree and Liver King would disagree.
Yeah.
But, and then they run out of all these important brain nutrients.
So essentially you need to be moving regardless if you're taking these things. Usually.
Yeah. You should, everyone should be moving, period.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously that's the first thing, but, usually when people think of nootropics or supplements, they just think, just take it. That's it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sit these days, man.
Yeah, it's sitting too much.
Yeah.
There's all the problems.
Yeah. I mean, there's days like for me right here, I just station out here and just like I have editing for the next 18 hours. So it's like,
it's tough.
I know.
But what are you going to do? You got to walk.
It's a give and take. Yeah. I'm curious, how do you deal with sleep deprivation considering the context of your work?
Yeah, I'm frequently sleep deprived because I have to do night shifts. I have to do 28-hour shifts that roll over to the next day. I number one, proper use of caffeine. You know how to use caffeine properly, get through anything. Number two, I would say don't nocebo yourself. So it doesn't matter if I have 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep. 5, 6 a.m. I'm maximally awake.
Yeah,
because my body knows. Like if I'm on a 28-hour shift and I'm really sleepy at 1, 2 a.m. I'm awake. I'm in the ER doing something. By I come around 5, 6 a.m. That's my wake up time. I'm awake.
Yeah.
And you kind of deal with that. Number 3, I guess, is making sure your circadian rhythm is intact. Otherwise, so that you can have that effect where you get the 5, 6 a.m. wake up. You can supplement around it. There's things you can take like L-tyrosine, creatine. Make sure that your brain's going to be deficient when you're lacking sleep. Make sure everything else is taken care of. So if your brain is full of creatine and choline and carnitine and has all these other things, you can get through sleep deprivation. Micro naps. Huberman's big on like the NSDR, non-sleep deep rest, where you just sit down, rest a little bit, listen to this audio track and get through things. And then the big one is we are tired in our brain from excessive scrolling.
Yeah.
Scroll has a decision you have to make. You have to like, not like, share, not share. Do you agree? Do you not agree?
Microtasks.
Yeah, those microtasks. Exactly.
That really, you put meaning on them and so much value that you're just like, it actually turns into an energy.
And
It's
you need
being
sleep to
asserted.
process that. Like you need sleep to process everything everything you've been through in the last day gets processed at night when you sleep. And if you have more processing to do on social media, there's never been a time when you can process so many things, such a small screen in such a short amount of time. So don't do that. So if I'm sleep deprived, I try to avoid that. I try to do nothing. Like if I have a 5-minute slot between patients at night, I'll just sit and relax.
Stick to first world activities.
Yeah. Like do nothing. Just go for a walk, go outside, do push-ups.
Oh, there's a building here. Yeah. What happened to that? Usually it's like, oh, okay, break time.
Yeah, which is really bad. I mean, especially with how degenerate the world is. And you're walking the street and you're on your phone. Watch out.
Oh my God, dude. My
Seen
God,
too many people cross
my
the street
neighbors,
like that.
bro.
Yeah.
The school bus comes in. They come down and they're just walking like ducks, dude.
Yeah, it's dangerous. There's crime too. Like there's vicious people out there, and they're looking to see if they can steal your iPhone. Your iPhone's $1,000.
Yep.
They'll
Yep.
quickly take it out of your hands.
The nocebo is very interesting to me. Because there are quite a few accounts who talk about, listen, it doesn't focusing on all the micro things in regards to sleep and being sleep deprived. You can still perform.
Yeah, of course.
And I've dealt with this because I have the Aura Ring. I've tracked my sleep for the past 5 years. So I've never taken it that seriously to the point where I get a bad sleep score and it's like, oh man, I can't do anything today.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like, you just have to understand that it's about context and it's about what you do like 85 to 90% of the time.
100%.
Yeah.
I even took out my Whoop for a little bit, taking a little break, just to kind of not nocebo myself. But the habit that I started doing is I don't look at my sleep score first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it in the afternoon,
Yeah.
so I can take an actual change for the next day.
I should do that.
Because in the morning, I don't want to see it. Like if eventually I'm gonna outsource it to somebody and have someone else look at it, and if it's good, tell me. If it's bad, don't say anything.
Interesting.
Because I take advantage of the placebo.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be nocebo to thinking, oh, I didn't sleep good, or why didn't I get 3 hours of REM, or whatever it is. But I say there's a dichotomy of sleep, and this is the nuance that all these health accounts should think about. Is number one, I optimize for 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night every time I can. But the dichotomy is I'm ready to function on 3 hours of sleep if that's the case.
Yeah.
So don't let poor sleep get in the way of you functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And the human body's resilient. Like you see
100%.
people walk around like severely obese.
Yeah.
And for some reason they're still able to, although it's not a good quality of life, they're still able to live 30, 40 extra years, let's say.
Oh yeah. There's backup mechanisms. Like it's amazing. There's so many like fail switches and things that can take over when you put it all together. Some systems break down. But when it comes to like the sleep, every single important night in my life, I haven't slept. For my powerlifting competition, I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Before AP tests or MCAT or SAT, and I performed. You still have to come in and do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just say, oh, I didn't sleep, I'm doing bad, your brain can overcome short periods of sleep deprivation, and you might even perform better because you can make more epinephrine, and dopamine because you're so psyched in.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. You can get through it. That's what modafinil does.
Mm-hmm.
Modafinil is the Limitless movie, one of the nootropics. What it does is it floods your brain with dopamine and histamine. It makes it forget that it's sleepy.
Wow.
So you can kind of get into that yourself. Like, kind of psych yourself out. Like, hey, I'm fine. I'm good. Let's go.
That's true. I did a play, not a play. It was like a little skit in front of an acting class last year, and I had one day to rehearse and got the script and everything, and they were like, "You're gonna be this part," and I was actually one of the hosts, so I had to. They were all. It was a game show, and it was 4 people with podiums, and I was the one introducing the host. So I had this whole big part at the beginning, right? So I introduced the whole thing, and I remember I was so tired to the point where I'm like, God, like, please, just like, if there's a neuron shut, just widen it up open, because I'm just I'm out of it, dude. And it's like, I don't want to mess up. I'm in front of people, like, at the same time. What happened is I started to just think about performance. Once I started thinking about performance and like how I'm going to do it, and it's going to be like this, and then I started laughing, I swear to God, it's like I got a rush of blood to my head. And go time.
That's dopamine.
5 minutes later, boom. It felt like 30, but it was, it's dopamine. It's a nice little rush. Yeah. It's like, it's kind of like when you get into a car accident and you walk out like, what's going on? Yeah. It's all adrenaline. Like, it's just that shock mechanism. It woke you up to.
Yeah. That's why I like ice baths.
Right. Yeah.
For that shock.
We saw the video, when was it, yesterday or 2 days ago?
I do like almost every week now.
Dude, it's insane. I tried ice freaking therapy.
Cryotherapy?
Yeah, cryotherapy. Oh my God.
How'd you feel?
Dude, okay, so first of all, my friend did it first. Okay, 1 second. But when I saw him do it, I was like, come on, dude, stop crying, whatever. He was just like, ooh, ooh. And I'm like, he's like, it hurts. And he's like, his hands are clamped. And I'm like, okay, take your arms out. Because his arms were inside. And so I saw him, it was like, play my favorite song. Okay, 3 minutes in, 3 minutes, 30 seconds. I was like, all right, if he did 3 minutes, 30 seconds, I have to at least do that. That's the minimum right now.
Right.
So I sit in there and I'm like, ooh. And the first thing is you expect your groin to just go numb, right? But then you're like, no, that's not even the coldest part. The coldest part was literally like your feet and hands.
Yeah. Feet and hands are the worst.
Feet and hands are worse.
Because at least fat, at least blood flow.
Yeah. And
they get worse. Yeah.
It's like immediate bone. So you feel like you're just stuck
bone
in
chilling.
text claw.
Yeah. Well, that's the most dangerous. People get frostbite. They lose their fingers.
Oh my God.
That's the biggest problem.
Dude, but let's just say I thought I did 3 minutes, but it was 30 seconds. And I was like, how long? He's like, 2 minutes and a half. And I'm like, what? So my song is playing. It's about 4 minutes in length. So I'm like, okay, that's actually realistic because the song's not even there yet. But I am going through so much panic that if he wasn't talking to me, I would have probably not done it.
Did you think that you were 30 seconds or did you think that 3 minutes had passed?
I thought 3 minutes had passed.
Because dopamine slows down slices of time.
Yeah. So you're like,
you get that like car accident effect.
You're just,
like, whoa.
You're trying to imagine your breath as a visual at this point. And you're like, what's going on? What's going on? And he's like, take your hands out because you're probably freezing. So that helps a lot, actually.
It does.
Once that was done, I got out and I was like, whew, outside ain't felt so good in a while. It was like 60 degrees outside.
You feel this rush. You feel energetic.
You're like, you feel a rush, dude. And then the best way and the thing I had to do right there and then was watch the Wolverine thing where he comes out of the tank.
Oh, yeah. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, literally.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Exactly what it feels like. And it's phenomenal. Now the effects after, bro, I've had, like, look at my aura stats. I've had 43 sleep this week, but my energy has been,
yeah.
Makes a huge difference on all levels.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when you do the most difficult thing of the week, the rest of the stuff this week is nothing.
That gets back to what we were saying earlier about the whole controlling your brain and anxiety. Like it all sums it up with this, is that the ice bath, there's people will debate whether or not they're good for your body and your joints and recovery, blah, 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 blah. And the cognitive benefits are the most important. You can tell your brain, shut up, stop being a pussy. You can deal with it.
You absolutely can.
You can do, it's top-down control. So your brain is two parts. You have your cortex and your subcortical parts, your brainstem. Your brainstem is fight or flight, rest and digest. And you're telling you, oh my God, get out of here. You're going to die if you stay in this ice bath. But you can cortically say, no, I'm not going to get out. I'm fine. I can deal with this. And when you shut that down, your body will be like, okay, it's fine. And then you take that to the next day. And now when the next stimulus comes in and you freak out, you tell your brain, no, relax. So you control I call it the battle in your brain. There's a battle between your cortex and your subcortex every day. People have anxiety, depression, OCD. They've lost that battle. Or they're losing that battle. Their subcortical regions, the brainstem, is telling their brain, freak out about everything. Everything's bad. Everything sucks.
Yeah.
But you tell it, no, it's fine. I can control this. You turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. You even see if you have your Oura ring when you're watching, your heart rate goes up to like 150 and then it comes down to lower than baseline.
Yeah.
You're in this calm parasympathetic state.
That's 100% true. If you look at my stats, they actually reached a baseline where it was lower than when I was asleep. Yeah. Which was, wow.
It's because dive reflex.
It had a similar effect like staying at the beach all day. That sun effect. Where you were just so content and it felt like you had striations and you flexed muscles you probably have never flexed before. I'm dead serious. And you were sore from everywhere. Like not sore, I would say probably just more relaxed because of how stimulated they were. And that's the best feeling on earth because you are ready for sleep, my guy.
Yeah, the post ice bath naps.
Yeah.
Would you say that the breathing during the ice bath is a form of top-down control, or is that more of bottom-up control?
So Huberman has done great work on this, where breathing is both top-down and bottom-up.
Okay,
you start breathing more subconsciously if you're freaking out, but you can also control your breathing rate. So it's something that works both ways. He says like what you see, what you hear, and your breath are 3 interventions where they work both ways.
Wow.
Where you can top-down say no. So if you can top-down say no to I'm not gonna freak out right now, and you breathe slowly, you'll be fine. The people that get in the ice bath and they start going, they freak out and they jump out right away because they're sympathetic state, their heart rate's 150, they're freaking out and they fail. So I tell people, hey, you're gonna get in, you're gonna have a shock, just calm
down.
And they haven't trained that aspect of their minds. Yeah.
Because everyone's mind is fragile nowadays. We're not trained that discipline, that Mr. Miyagi, like wax on, wax off. You're very disciplined. We don't have that. We don't have mentors that teach you that anymore. Which is why there's a role for things like ice baths, saunas. I like doing dead hangs. Yeah. Because dead hangs suck. But you're there and it's a minute 30. Like, I have 30 seconds more. You're training that top-down control.
Mm-hmm. You're big into research. I would consider you an autodidact, really. What are the 1 to 2 things that you're really focused on learning about right now? What really fascinates you in this moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest things that fascinate me is male health. And I think there's a giant attack on the male system, both intentionally, unintentionally. And I think there's a lot of influencers that are coming out in that space. So that's one big one. And I think the second one is cognitive function.
Yeah.
How can I make my brain at my will and not me at the will of my brain? We always say that we are our brain. I feel that my brain is a tool that I have. I'm more than just the cognitive functions that happen here.
Of course, yeah.
And I want to be able to learn how to use that to my advantage. That's parasympathetic control, sympathetic control, breathing habits, exercise routines, supplementation, sleep, all that stuff to have my brain functioning ready for me, what I want to do.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 big ones.
We talked about cognitive function in depth. What do you think are like the few big attacks on male health, fertility, all that? Because I know that's a big problem these days, especially with testosterone.
Right. There's the book Countdown by Shauna White, I believe her name is. It's about all the microplastics and phthalates and all these things that are in the food. The depressing part is even alligators and crocodiles, they're having smaller penises from these plastics. And it's not something that happens while they're alive. It's when they're moms or they're in the egg and they're in the womb. However, I think crocodiles are eggs. Not a
I don't know.
Whatever. I'm a human.
They're eggs, don't worry.
But yeah, whatever it is, there's compounds being exposed, and that shortens their penises. It decreases their testicular function. All these things, and it's irreversible. So all these, and there's been data where pregnant mothers that have higher levels of these phthalates in their blood end up having kids with smaller, they call it anal scrotal distances.
Yeah,
and the anal scrotal distance is a good indicator of male-female dichotomy. So females have very short distances, males have very long distances, and male distances are getting smaller. So there's a demasculinization happening at the level of the womb. That freaks me out. So if anyone's trying to get pregnant, read the book. Both male and female, you have to be taking care of that. There is number 2, probably the lack of sleep. Testosterone is made during REM sleep. And my most famous video is about having erections in the morning. People don't have erections in the morning anymore because they're watching too much porn. Their testosterone levels are low. They're very stressed out. Number 3, I would say it's the lack of brotherhood and competition. Because if you live, we always talk about going back in time and we reminisce and we romanticize, but you lived 1,000 years ago. You and your brothers and your homies, you rode horses together, you shot arrows together, you competed against one another, you wrestled. There was competition. There's even evidence that if you play chess, winners have a testosterone rise just from chess. It's the least masculine, aggressive thing you can do. Winning, competition, there's this rise in testosterone. There's this brotherhood, a feeling of security, knowing your bros have your back. That doesn't exist anymore. So guys are anxious, they're stressed out. They don't have platforms like this.
Yeah, you have guys sleeping with your girl, bro. What is going on? That's just such a common scenario.
Like Andrew Tate said, I wouldn't. Well, they asked him, what would you do if one of your homies slept with your girl? I was like, that would never happen. If I died, none of my boys would do that. I screen for the best guys possible
because you know who to choose. Yeah.
So there's no brotherhood. Like most people reminisce, like when they were in football, and there's this brotherhood and there's masculinity together, and you're lifting weights and you're working out. Doesn't exist anymore. There was a James Cameron, the Avatar director. He just said testosterone is a toxin that must be removed.
He said that.
Yes.
Oh my God. By the way, the same guy who has a stake in cricket protein companies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of
I have a video coming out about that. I'm like, it pissed me off, beyond belief. Testosterone is one of the most important things for male mental health. If your testosterone is low, that's a contributing factor to depression, anxiety, and all these mental problems. You have less muscle, you have less strength, you're less likely to go talk to a female, you're less likely to work out, to be entrepreneurial, to make money, to do all the things that make you happy in life.
Yeah.
So how can you even say that testosterone is not necessary? It's a toxin. It's one of the most important things that you have.
It runs your life, bro.
Yeah. Like it's even important for females. Like females after menopause, they have no estrogen. They also have no testosterone.
Yeah.
Or less testosterone, let's say. So that ruins them too. So it's one of the most important things that exists in your body. Like most guys, when they get on HRT and they feel phenomenal because it's like, hey, I have testosterone back anymore. I have that energy, that vigor. Like people have known this for thousands of years. The early researchers, they thought like, hey, there's some kind of factor in the testicle that makes men feel better. So they take monkey testicles and try to attach it to them. Yeah. Failed experiments. Yeah. Don't do it. Monkey testicles don't work. I don't think eating testicles helps either. Sorry, Liver King.
Yeah.
But testosterone is one of the most vital aspects of male vitality. Like vital for male vitality. Like how can you even say
Bro, without testosterone, you're not going to have clear thinking. You're not going to have actual goals. You're not going to achieve any of your goals. You're not going to make money. You're not like there's so much that you need testosterone for.
Yeah.
And I've literally tested this within my own life. I would not be here today if there was no testosterone.
Of course.
Right? If I did not befriend people and lose respect to some people and gain respect to some people and all that is all run by testosterone, by the way.
Male dominance hierarchies, yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then like the overly fantasizing shit, like porn.
Yeah.
You know? Males do that way too much nowadays, where they fantasize everything the way porn does.
It's like incel culture and all that.
Yeah, and it's like, what the hell's going on, bro? Like, let a cartoon be a cartoon. All right? You like, and what? It's the sharing knowledge of like, yo, did you see this video? Everyone knows that person. It's becoming such a normal class thing. Yeah. That it's almost weird if you don't talk about it, right? If someone says a name and you don't know it and they start laughing, they think that that's weird. You get me?
Yeah, I mean, like,
but it's a porn star or whatever. And you're like, bro,
and I think if you took a video, someone was talking about this. I think it was Tam Khan on with Andrew Tate. Like, if you want to take someone and completely humiliate them, get a video of them jerking off to whatever porn and have them side by side with the porn they're watching, what they're jerking off to. They'd be mortified.
Oh my God.
They'd never come out again.
That is so true.
It's the most humiliating things you can do.
Yeah.
And yet the whole society.
And everyone's going to be like, that's what you're into?
Yeah.
Not knowing that they watched everything they
you're
did.
sitting there like,
yeah, like, come on, bro. Just because someone, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, it's a societal thing. We said this at the very beginning. It's a multiple problem thing.
We're degenerate.
Yeah.
We're outside of the health stuff. Where do you think this attack on masculinity comes? Because it is an attack and it's pretty obvious. Like when you look at mainstream media, all that stuff.
100%.
What do you think is the main factor there?
Like the etymology or how it's happening?
Sure.
Yeah. My theory on testosterone is that testosterone is given when you need it. So I've seen patients where their testosterone is low, they become a stockbroker and they're trading, and suddenly their testosterone gets higher.
Interesting.
Because they need that testosterone to compete against other people. We don't need strong men in the society anymore. Society is very effeminate. It's very chill. There's no competition. You just go to your job. You sit at your desk. There's very they don't want you to compete.
It's all easy.
Yeah, it's easy. There's no vigor involved. Outside of the gym culture, you go to work. You come home. You Uber eat some food. Put on some Netflix, some bullshit documentary on whatever, or some bullshit show, and you go to sleep for 4 hours and you wake up and you repeat the same cycle over again. There's no need to have that masculine men. Now, if there's an invasion of a different place, they're going to call all the masculine men, like, get on the front lines.
Exactly, yeah.
And the U.S. military is having a hard time finding men to recruit.
Which is scary because China's doing the opposite thing.
That's a huge stat because if you look at it from the past decade, there's a huge decline.
Because they make fun of the military being stupid and whatever, but there's minimum IQs you have to join the military. And they can't find the guys that are not obese, have enough of IQ and want to do it. So there's no call for the masculine men to exist anymore.
So as a result, they're lowering the standards at which you can get through, right?
And there's even female selection drives society. It's the whole Jordan Peterson thing, but females are the ones that have access to sexual preferences in the modern day. And there's a theory that being on birth control will have females prefer a less masculine male.
It's backed by pheromones, by all that stuff, yeah.
So there's even data to support this theory. And if that's the case, then the female selection is towards less masculine men.
Wow.
What the hell?
So the whole society is selecting. There's always selective pressures on everything. And when it comes to the raw milk or Liver King, whatever it is, these are selective pressures that manifest in society. And the selective pressures are not for masculine men.
I'm trying to think about what the second and third and fourth order consequences of that are going to be. Like, let's say a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades from now. Do you have any idea as to where this is leading?
Well, complete breakdown of the family system. Because everyone's cheating on their spouses. Men are unable to perform in bed. And guess what? There's other guys that will.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
female and male infidelity both ways.
We also have the other part where it's just kind of like is it a polygamous marriage?
Yeah, polyamorous, polygamous.
Yeah, where it's just like, oh, we watch people and they watch us and they
Yeah,
do whatever. And I'm like,
voyeurism.
yeah, and
Voyeurism,
stuff
yeah,
like that. And like,
Well,
bro,
they're so used to watching porn, so they'd rather watch someone get off
Yeah.
than get off themselves.
exactly. So it's
wild.
like that's a whole different type of. But yeah,
So I mean, that's probably second order. Family system breaks down. Suddenly you have more mental health problems that clog up the hospitals. God forbid you have a heart attack and you need to get to the hospital. There's 5 beds full from people that are having a mental breakdown that affects you. Societies that if you study the Roman Empire and the American Empire and overlay their histories, you will see a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And you'll see that they had a breakdown in their culture, and that led to them being overtaken. I mean, the Romans were run through.
Yeah.
A couple times by the Visigoths and by the Vandals, and then by even the Arab conquerors. They ran through them quickly because they had fell apart. They were no longer masculine.
Yeah.
So that's the fear. Like, if we love the United States, we love living here, it's great. Life is good for us, and we complain about all these things, but life overall is great.
Yeah.
But we might be overrun.
yeah. I mean, look, I travel a lot. You travel.
Yeah, yeah.
You go back home a lot.
Yeah,
So it's like you get to see the key differences of how the adults here that are around you are versus the way they are over there. And over there, I got to say that they handle a lot more, especially when it comes to moving your piece, rolling the dice, like kind of just where you are on this earth and the things you do and the things that are attached to me. They're very meaningful to them. You know what I mean? And they, for the most part, have done and grasped a lot, you know? And then you look at the typical timeline here, and you see how chill it is, like you just said. It's just more accommodating to being less masculine.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like there are some similarities, but also major differences between how, or like the initial thought that they start off their day with. It's a completely different mentality. Like, it's almost like we have different brains.
Yeah, because they're more communal. The most important thing there is the community unit, the family unit, the tribe, and the whole community matter. There's an idea of we have to preserve the order of the community. Here, the idea is I preserve me above all. Doesn't matter what anything else. If I'm happy, I have my hedonistic pleasures fulfilled. It's fine. Over there, it's like, hey, I got to take care of grandma. I have an aunt that needs to get fed. There's that. This person's going through this. We have to come and help the whole community.
Yeah.
Which actually is kind of this alpha male. Maybe even helps boost your testosterone.
It does.
Because you're
a provider almost.
Yeah.
You feel like more of a provider there than you are here. Here, you're just taking care of yourself.
Yeah. You ever seen the video of there's a pack of gorillas and they're passing the road?
Yeah.
I don't know, pack, whatever it's called.
Oh, I have seen that.
Yeah, there's a pack of gorillas. And there's the big alpha male gorilla and there's cars passing by. He gets in the middle of the road, stops all traffic, and lets everyone else pass by. And then he
It's
passes.
an amazing video.
And it tells you that's the problem with modern man. Modern man doesn't do that. So it's a complete shit show.
Yeah. Have you ever? You've probably been in a situation before where you see something go down in public, right? And you step up and you look around you and everybody's taking a video.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the?
Bystander effect.
Like what's happening? And then the thing is now you're pointed as the weird one for actually taking action or whatever, because that's just uncommon. You come from, like, you're obviously a different generation, so you come from a place where it's like, hey, I need to be more aware and look after my brothers and sisters and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's kind of gone now.
Oh, completely.
Completely, almost.
Yeah, a guy's car stopped down next to the freeway like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I got out to push the car. Usually I remember maybe 20 years ago, 30 guys would have jumped out.
Yeah.
Nobody jumped out.
Yeah.
And luckily I know I deadlift, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But no one else came to help. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, they just drive right past. Who cares, bro? If anything, if there was a puddle, they just run. Yeah, who cares?
There's an old man in this beat up Civic, whatever it was. I'm like, dude, come help.
Yeah.
I imagine population size has to do with that too.
There's no urgency towards anything, man. And I honestly believe that testosterone has a huge part with that. Of
course.
Absolutely.
The sense of urgency is missing. Also, it's the dual parents working all the time. That's causing a lot of issues for men and women. So when they're boys and girls, right, growing up, they're not being fulfilled as men and women anymore. They're still boys and girls.
100%. And it's more important for men than it is for women. A woman, you have your menstruation cycle that comes in. That's a big sign like, hey, you're now a woman.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
I admire the Jewish culture because they have bar mitzvahs. So it's like, hey, you're now a man. But we don't have that. Most people never have a passing of the torch. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you're now a man. Like your grandpa doesn't sit you down. It's like, hey, you're a man now. You have to step up.
No initiation rituals.
They just tell you it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what's our
I
responsibility?
haven't been through anything tough to do that, you know?
And you go to college, and the main goal is to access as much female attention as possible
Yeah.
and get by in class and use Adderall to get by.
You're right. Here it's a here it's a feeling. It's feeling based. Like I feel like a man now. Okay, great. That's it. No one actually tells you that.
When you become a man, in my book, when the most important person in your life is no longer you.
100%.
I agree.
There we go.
If somebody else has to be cared for by you and you have to put them first, you're now a man. But if it's you, I need to make $1 million, buy a Lamborghini and everything, you're still not a man. But once like, hey, I have to take care of mom, I have to take care of sister, I have to have a family, take care of the kids, you're now a man.
And
You've
that
heard it
idea is
here.
seductive to people because even when they achieve success, then they think they're the man.
Yeah.
But you can see the neglect all through different areas of their life as well.
Yeah.
Which is
It's
incredible.
insane. I think one thing that our audience really needs to hear is to evaluate yourself and be honest with it, right? I'd like assume that you are wrong always and assume because if you are correct, it's going to feel good.
Yeah.
100%.
It's,
It'll feel better than knowing that you are correct.
Right.
And I think that's where everything starts, like with your health and your longevity and your happiness and all that good stuff. But I think everything we took out of this today was bottom line, be on good track with health.
Of
That's
course.
where everything
That's the
that's where
foundation.
everything starts. If you want creatine to work well, you're gonna have to be moving. And you're gonna have to be eating well,
Right.
like that kind of stuff.
If you want to take care of people, you have to be healthy enough to do it.
Yeah.
And if you have health problems, I'm sorry. I know that's rough. We feel for you. We're not saying that you're no longer a man or you're not an alpha male or anything, but for the majority of people, you're a young man, your health is important. Your health leads to testosterone. Testosterone means you take care of your family, wires back to more testosterone, and you're going to be fulfilled as a man.
Yeah.
You're not going to be fulfilled with just hedonistic endeavors.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things that we've discussed today they can definitely be overwhelming for people. So what like words of encouragement do you have for people that want to walk on the right path and just like get better? Because a lot of this shit is just overwhelming. Even for people like us who do the research and do all that.
That's
like, what do you,
the more you go down, the harder, the weirder it
like,
gets.
how much more does it go? It keeps going.
Right.
It's like, what do you say to those people?
Keep the simple things in focus. Like there's stuff that me and you'll try to that will be trying to get the extra 0.5%.
Yeah.
But the big things are what matter. Your sleep, you eat healthy, you have relationships, you exercise. And the lucky part is you live in 2022, 2023, whatever it is when you watch this, and you have access to information.
Mm-hmm.
You can seek out information. There's reputable sources that you can look to. You can look up to. There's a democratization of knowledge, and you have no excuse not to know anymore.
No
So
excuse.
you can learn. It's no longer some esoteric knowledge that some kind of shaman has on top of a hill. On Twitter, you can find 1,000 people telling you what to do. So it's great. And if you keep the simple things in focus, 80-20 principle, 80% of your results are going to come from that small 20%, where you sleep good, you eat good, you have relationships, you take care of other people, and you're going to do good.
Most new information you learn is actually old information. It's crazy.
Yeah, it cycles
Great
back.
point. Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
Cycles back, dude. And
You should tweet
that's,
that.
that's one thing I'm learning.
Viral.
And
Viral big time.
it has been proven to be true over and over again. But Aboud,
You're
thank
a wealth
you
of
so
knowledge,
much for joining us today. That was a wild journey. If you guys appreciated that episode, please go follow this man at Aboud, ABUD_BAKRI, Bakri.
We'll have all links down below in the
we'll
description.
have them all in the description below.
Yeah.
And if you haven't yet, go ahead and grab your Ekster wallet. Use code 2AM to save 30% off. Yeah. And yeah.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Appreciate you, man.
See you guys next time.
Peace.